Hey, so I'm Mel Honeydew. I'm going to be recording a video every week to talk about a challenge that I've set myself for this year, which is I've called 12 items or less. This is the 12 items or less preamble ramble, so it's New Year's Eve. I thought I'd record a quick video to describe a little bit about what I'm doing and sort of set the scene for what I've got to start with. This is my dog Fergus. I'm hoping he'll join me in most of our recordings throughout the year. He's a pretty good dog. Hopefully he'll stay and not get bored. So the 12 items or less challenge, what it is for me, I'm planning on, Fergus didn't stay for very long, I'm planning on reducing my shopping to one shopping trip a week. And then purchasing only 12 items or less. Actually, it could be 2 shops, so I might go to the butcher, for example, buy some mince or a steak or something like that, so I'm getting some red meat. That counts as my one item. I'm only going to be buying 12 items or less every week. And that includes all my food and household cleaning products and self-care products like shampoo and soap and things like that. So it might seem a little bit of a crazy challenge, and I actually don't know how crazy it is. 12 items or less just sort of came to me because that's one of the things when you might have seen this in your local supermarket, where there's a checkout where you can go through if you've only got 12 items or less. Usually it fits in a basket. So I've just picked that, and we'll see how we go. So I'll tell you a little bit about me to start with. So I run a micro business. That might be how you've come across this video. It's called Rigby Cottage. I graft fruit trees and I raise chickens and ducks and I sell them. It was really just a side hustle until this year, until late last year. I was made redundant from my main source of income. It's cut down to a couple of secondary sources, and now I'll be trying to build up the Rigby Cottage business. So I've got a little bit of, I'm home a lot working in my yard, so I've got time to work in my veggie garden. I've got lots of fruit trees growing, things like that, but I do work outside of my business between 10 and 30 hours a week. Obviously I teach at a university, so during semester that's the busier time. So that's a little bit about me. I live on my own mostly. My son stays with me about a third of the time. He's 15. He'll be coming up tomorrow and staying until Wednesday. That'll be interesting to see how that affects the challenge, having him here. He's pretty easygoing, but we'll see. I also have 2 lovely little girls, primary school age girls, that come and stay with me for a weekend every 3 or 4 weeks. They're used to having treats when they come and visit. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. They're pretty cool, pretty easygoing, pretty imaginative and creative, and I reckon once I let them know about my challenge, they'll be fully on board and keen to try some food that we've grown in the garden. They do love fruit salads, so we'll have a lot of that. So that takes me to a little bit about my garden and what I'm producing at the moment. So I've just got a 1/4 acre block. I've got a really tiny house and not much else on it apart from fruit trees and the veggie garden and the chook pens. So there's lots of space for growing food. I've got, must be about 100 different fruit trees in the yard. They're not all trees and obviously not fully grown. I've only been here for 3 years, so some of them only a couple of years old. Quite a few of them are espaliered, but I got lots of apples and peaches, things like that. I'll probably only have a small amount of some of the fruit this year. I've got citrus, for example, and I've had hardly any citrus, but lots of peaches. So definitely have to sort of go with the flow a little bit about what I'm growing. I've got a veggie patch. I've got 3 or 5 veggie patches that are about 3 meters long by about 1 meter to 1.5 meters wide. I've not been great at growing veggies. I try, and as soon as, I might lose interest, and veggie gardens aren't very forgiving, I find. Beetroot's very forgiving, so I've got a lot of luck with beetroot and silver beet. So plenty of greens and plenty of beets. So that'll be really a big part of my challenge this year, is really getting into the veggie garden, getting that going so I can grow a lot more of my greens, things like that to keep me going. What else? I wanted to tell you a little bit about where I'm at, because this is the preamble ramble. So each week what I'll do normally is I'll talk about the 12 items that I've bought. I'll do that tomorrow when I go shopping, 1st of January. Today I wanted to talk about what I've got so far. So in my pantry, it's just a pretty typical well-stocked pantry, although I haven't been in many people's pantries, so I wouldn't know. But I've got, you know, a couple of bags of flour. I've got maybe about 5 kilos of rice. I've got some preserves, not a huge amount of preserves, some pickled beetroot that I've made, lots of types of sugar. My freezer's pretty well stocked. I've got a few different types of, you know, chicken and pork in there. I've got a load of eggs because my chickens lay eggs really well. I've got about 6 chickens that are laying, so I get quite a few eggs. Got a bunch of beetroot that I just picked from my garden, and I've got some potatoes that are right here under this newspaper, which I'll talk about in a second. So that's kind of where I'm at. So when I go shopping tomorrow, it'll probably be definitely things like milk. That's going to be every week. I'm going to need to buy milk and cheese, maybe some sort of red meat for the iron. And then I have to have a bit more to think about what else I'm going to buy. What I've got here is each week I'll do a bit of a show and tell. So what I've got under this newspaper here are some potatoes I picked. I've got 3 varieties of potatoes in my garden. I picked these a couple of days ago. They're Russian banana potatoes. They're a Kipfler type. You can probably see them, I'm assuming. I read that the best way to help your potatoes last in storage is to cure them out of direct sunlight, nicely spread apart for a week to 10 days, and that apparently makes the skins toughen up a little bit before you were to stack them in a box. So I've got about twice this. The other half, they're a little bit marked or imperfect in some way. A bug might have gotten to them, so I'll probably eat those in the next couple of days. They won't last. These are the good ones. Once they're cured, I'll put them in a box in the bottom of the pantry, so that should last me a little bit. So that's about all I've got to say. Each week I'll do a 12 items or less video where I talk about my items that I've bought. I'll also be posting some other videos throughout the year about, I don't know, grafting. Once it's grafting season, I can do a video about how to graft, talk about some heritage fruit trees and things like that. So if any of those things seems like they might interest you, please figure out how to subscribe to my channel. This is my first video, so I actually don't know how to tell you how to subscribe, but please do that. Like this video, and you might want to check out my Rigby Cottage Facebook page too. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow for my first 12 items or less video. One thing I meant to mention, nearly forgot, where I am. I'm located in central Victoria in Australia. Pretty hot summers, pretty cold winters. We get frost. But a pretty good place to be growing vegetables and fruit. It's just a bit cold in winter, but I'm getting a greenhouse, so that should help. Pretty good rainfall. I do have mains water as well as rainwater. I've got pretty clay soil, so that's a bit of a challenge whenever I want to grow anything. Really have to improve the soil. So now I think I've told you everything you need to know. I'll see you next week. Tomorrow.